What if I told you that one battle, almost forgotten by history, changed the course of an entire war? A battle so pivotal it could have altered everything, yet it's rarely mentioned in the mainstream narrative. You'd be surprised at how much was at stake. This is the story of the Battle of Tannenberg. It's 1914, and the world is plunged into the chaos of World War I. The Western Front is where the bloodiest, most famous battles will unfold. Verdun, the Somme, and the like. But over on the Eastern Front, something equally as crucial was about to happen, and it could have been the game changer. At the heart of this story is the Battle of Tannenberg, a confrontation between the Russian Empire and the German Empire. To understand its significance, we need to set the stage. The Russians, under the command of Generals Alexander Samsonov and Paul von Rennenkampf, had launched a full-scale invasion into East Prussia, part of the German Empire. Russia's strategy was clear: push hard, disrupt the German defenses, and make an early dent in their ability to fight on multiple fronts. The Russian forces had over 150,000 men, while the Germans had roughly 150,000 men as well. But here's the catch: the Germans, led by General Paul von Hindenburg and his chief of staff Erich Ludendorff, were prepared. They knew their terrain better, and most importantly, they had the tactical advantage. The Russians, on the other hand, were struggling with poor communication and lack of coordination. The two Russian commanders, Samsonov and Rennenkampf, had a history of not getting along, which left their army vulnerable to a German trap. The Germans took full advantage of this. The battle itself took place between August 26 and 30, 1914, near the small town of Tannenberg in present-day Poland. The Russian forces were caught off guard when the Germans launched a devastating series of encirclements. What followed was nothing short of a massacre. In a span of just a few days, the German forces annihilated the Russian army. Over 90,000 Russian soldiers were captured, and more than 50,000 were either killed or wounded. General Samsonov, the leader of the Russian forces, was so devastated by the defeat that he committed suicide. Now, here's the kicker. Despite the scale of the victory, Tannenberg is often left out of discussions about World War I. It's overshadowed by the larger, more famous battles on the Western Front. But let me ask you this: how often do we hear about the battles that shifted the balance of power on the Eastern Front? At Tannenberg, the Russians were humiliated. Their push into Germany was stopped dead in its tracks. The battle effectively crushed Russia's ability to launch any significant offensive against Germany for the rest of the war. The impact on morale was devastating. It was a blow not just to their military, but to the very fabric of Russian leadership. But here's the thing that makes Tannenberg so fascinating. It wasn't just about the battle itself. It was about how the Germans leveraged their victory. General Hindenburg and Ludendorff would go on to become the face of German military leadership. Their success at Tannenberg helped catapult them into positions of power, eventually influencing both the war's direction and post-war German politics. Hindenburg in particular became a national hero. His image was used to rally the German public throughout the war and even after, when he became president of the Weimar Republic. So why, you may ask, is Tannenberg not talked about more often? It's simple. The focus of history often lies on the larger, more decisive events, like the trench warfare on the Western Front, or the battles that led to the eventual German surrender. Tannenberg, though crucial, was a battle on the fringes, one that took place on the Eastern Front, which, at the time, wasn't as widely reported. But think about this. What if Russia had been able to push through at Tannenberg? What if the Russian military had been victorious? Could that have ended the war much sooner? Could it have reshaped the entire outcome of the conflict? This battle didn't just change the course of World War I, it altered the future of Europe. It bought Germany the time it needed to strengthen its defenses, making the war last longer than it might have. It also set the stage for the collapse of the Russian Empire just a few years later, as the repercussions of Tannenberg weakened the Russian monarchy and contributed to the Russian Revolution of 1917. History, especially military history, is full of what-ifs. Tannenberg is one of those battles that may not have been the most talked about, but it was one of the most significant. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most crucial moments in history are the ones that fade into the background. So next time you're reading about World War I, don't forget about Tannenberg. It was the battle that, for all its drama, didn't get the attention it deserved, but without it, the war might have turned out very differently. If you enjoyed this dive into one of history's forgotten game changers, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others who need to know more about the untold stories of our past. After all, understanding the forgotten battles helps us better understand the world we live in today. Thanks for watching, and remember, the past is full of hidden stories. All you have to do is look a little deeper.